What's up, everybody? It's your boy, StephenMotivate. We're back again with another set of Turo tips. We're going to try to give you 5 tips in this video for how you can manage your Turo business well. So, as always, check out the other 52 Turo tips in the playlist down below. Follow us on social media, like, subscribe, do all the things, join the community. We want to help you be the best entrepreneur you can be. So let's get into it today. Tip number 31. So you need to be communicating with your guests from time to time. Automatic communications, I've talked about that, but you can also send some non-automatic communications, just checking in, hey, how's it going, etc. But you're doing this for a reason. You want to see if they're going to reply back to you. And you want to see how they reply. If they don't reply, you want to put special attention on that vehicle, especially when it returns, because sometimes people stop communicating when a vehicle has been out and that sort of thing because they may have done something and they don't want to talk to the host anymore. And so they're just like, let me not say anything. Let me go on mute. Most people will communicate back. Hey, it's going fine. Thanks. They may ask a question, etc. You're doing it just to gauge their, if they'll communicate back with you. You also want to watch your tracker a bit, but you don't want to watch it too much because it will make you go back crazy about, what's going on with your vehicle, how they're driving, if they're going fast, slow, braking hard or not. When you get all that information, you can't be too tied to it because, people drive differently and you just never know what the situation is. But just pay attention a bit to their behavior. If it seems erratic and like they're driving crazy or driving in circles or doing stuff like that, then something's probably wrong. So just checking in with your guests is important from time to time. And when that vehicle comes back, take special care to pay attention to every piece of the vehicle because there could be some damage that occurred that may not be automatically apparent. So you want to take special attention to make sure that if you get a sense that a guest not communicating, unwilling to talk to you throughout the trip or tell you how things are going, that could be a sign that you need to look over that vehicle with extra care when it comes back to make sure it's in one piece. So that's tip number 31. Tip number 32 is really quick. Make sure your fueling requirements are in your listing. So, there's so many ways to boost your listing or make sure it's hitting on all the filters. And one way is to make sure the type of fuel your car requires is listed there. Is it premium? Is it regular? I don't know why people think that Porsches and Mercedes-Benzes or Audis or Lexuses or these type of cars or BMWs can take regular gas. They can't. They require premium gas. Premium cars require premium gas. But some people need to be told that. And one thing you can do is make sure people are taking pictures of their receipts to show that they put premium gas in the car. Because if you have engine issues or anything like that, it could come back to the fact that the wrong gas was used. And people don't realize with a premium vehicle, it can be very expensive. It looks good on the outside to have a $90,000 sticker price vehicle. But when every time you fill up, it's $90, it's $100. It's like, whoa, is this worth it? There's something about the look that's fine. But when you get to paying for something that you're going to spend immediately, like gas, and it's up to the $50, $60, $80, $100, it does something to your psyche, and it can make people upset to the point that they want to sort of shirk or, undercut what they're doing as it relates to their fuel. So you want to make sure they're using the right fuel. And that's one way to do that. So that's tip number 32. Make sure it's in your listing. All right, here's a bad one. Tip number 33, tolls and tickets. This can just really be a headache. I've never heard of someone doing a toll or ticket extra, so you don't have to deal with it, the burden on the front end. I've never heard of anyone doing that. It's sort of an idea. Now, Turo, since the time I wrote a lot of these tips, they've made it where if you have if you're signed up with your DMV and have a toll pass, it will automatically charge the guest, or it'll, when it notices, okay, a toll was incurred during their trip. This is so important. The headache of getting stacks of mail with tolls and charges is something that is yeah, it can be annoying. Just imagine someone was in your car 3 months ago and a bill pops in the mail and says, hey, here's a toll, or here's a ticket. You've got to chase that person down. And you've got to, it used to be with Turo, you have to go and try to find exactly who did it. And if you've got 20 plus cars, it can be a very tedious process of going through hundreds of trips, going back in time, trying to figure out who did it, and charge them. But now Turo has made that administrative burden a bit less, but it requires you to sign up with your local DMV. So you need to sign up with your local DMV to make sure that when folks are going through different states that have a lot of tolls, that they're being automatically charged. It is a little cost on the front end, but it saves you a lot on the back end in terms of headache. So you need to think about doing that. And also, you want to be very diligent about when you follow up with these tolls and tickets. These things, again, can show up at the mailing address to whatever the car is registered to. So if you're not paying attention, there could be mail sitting there with tickets and stuff that you've only got a certain amount of time. I think it's, I don't know, maybe 100+ days before you can charge. Maybe it's 90+ days before you can charge tolls and tickets. It may be more. I got to check that. But you only have a certain amount of time to charge back your guests. So you got to be very diligent about managing that piece of the business, making sure you're going back and charging people for what they've cost you on the trip. So that's important. And that's tip number 33. With your tolls and tickets, you got to get that device to make sure it's not as much of an administrative burden. If you don't do that, then just be prepared to go through the process of trying to track down people and get your money back, or you're going to be losing money that you're not even expecting to lose, because how would you know that they got a ticket on their trip? So not a lot of hosts talk about that, but it certainly happens. All right, that's tip number 33. Tip number 34. Need to leave reviews on your guests. It's very interesting, this, because the way you go about this can be very tricky. So let's say a guest did something to your car and you want them to leave a review, but you also want to call them out on what they did wrong. Well, unfortunately, Turo's become a place where if you call them out on something they did wrong, they can potentially leave you a terrible review because you just caught them. Maybe they messed up one of your wheels and they don't want to take responsibility for it, so they leave you a bad review. And now you're like, well, why would you leave me a bad review when you damaged my car? But it happens. And so there is a strategy to try to get a review first from them and then go after them. That way, let them leave their review first. You'll find out when they leave their review. Let them leave it first, and then you can go after them and say, hey, come on, guys, you did this damage or what have you. So I think it's important. Now, in general, if it's a good experience, you still need to leave reviews, because I think it's just the more things you do with Turo, the algorithm, it probably better pushes you up. It helps you. I don't know that to be true, but I think it's probably true. So definitely leave reviews and be real and be honest. The community only works if the bad guests are identified, right? So if no one knows that, oh, this person smokes in the car, this person leaves, is just irresponsible, or, got damaged and didn't pay for it, or left the car, smelling horrible, and, they tried to get out of it, you need to leave that type of review so people can, prohibit, others from falling into the same trap. You want to help other hosts as much as possible, not have that similar headache. And so leaving reviews is important. So definitely do that, but just be careful about the timing of when you leave your review. It can be very frustrating to have to do that, but Turo's still trying to figure out, who it's going to protect more, the guests or the host, and it's a balancing act. And, unfortunately, you just got to be careful about when you leave your review so you end up getting a bad review that hurts your ratings when, in fact, you may have done nothing wrong. You can also give discounts when you leave reviews. So, again, as I've talked about in videos past, if they've done a good job with the car, this is an incentive to give them a discount. So that's tip number 34. All right. So tip number 35, let's see. It's all about the protection plan. I've talked about this before. And so this is really a decision you've got to really think about in terms of how much money you want to make on Turo. Do you want to do the 60% plan and have no headaches? That means if somebody hits your car, Turo is supposed to pay for it 100%. But one thing that people don't know, that $30 a day reimbursement that you're supposed to get if somebody hits your car, that's maxed out at like 10 days. And it's actually, they'll try to discourage you from getting it if you have more than 2 or 3 cars on the platform. So if they can prove that you have more cars, they will try to discourage you from actually getting the rental fee per day that comes with the 60% protection plan. If you're a Turo host, you know what I'm talking about. And so in some ways, it looks to be okay. It's a headache-free plan. You get 40% or you get 60%, Turo keeps 40%. But in actuality, you could be some of those things that are listed there you may not actually get. So that's something to be aware of. And I think I've talked about this a little bit with the 90 plan, but here's my case for using the 90 plan. It's so hard to get reimbursed on some of the other plans. If somebody scratches your leather or does this or that, it's such a fight. It's such an administrative burden to try to prove, yeah, the guy cracked my window. Can you please give me some money back for that? And the guy saying, no, I didn't, or da-da-da-da, or they're fighting back. Well, on the 90% plan, you don't get paid for anything unless it's over $2,500 in damage anyway. So in those cases, it's got to be pretty bad damage. Well, pretty bad damage is a little harder to fight, or it's worth the administrative burden. So if you're on anything less than the 90 plan, it's like you got to weigh out, is it really going to be worth my time to sit here and fight back and forth with Turo and get good at that? Some of you may have time to do that. If you do, go for it. I don't have the time to sit and fight back and forth over a $200 repair and go on for 2 weeks I'd rather have the car back out there working, doing its job. So I tend towards the higher price repairs, the $2,500 or more. Give me 90% of the trip and you take 10%. And then when it's a really big problem, I'll take on that burden of trying to get my protection plan enacted. So that's a tip for you if you are trying to decide if the 90% protection plan is worth it. Then you've got to determine, is the administrative burden worth going back and forth when you have to make a claim and you have to try to prove over a course of several days, or it could be weeks, whether or not they're going to hold the guests accountable and whether or not they're going to pay you for the damage that the guest did. It can be a fight. It can be a battle if it's something that's hard to see in the pictures. If you didn't take the picture just right, or if it wasn't enough light, then it can be difficult. Now, I have heard people say that you sign up for the 60 plan and then you do that administrative burden and you charge them for everything. You look, if there's a nick, you create a claim, and you just create claim after claim after claim to make sure your car stays in good working condition and you're getting paid out for those claims. So that's a different strategy. I haven't done that, so I don't know how that would work in reality. I don't know if they eventually ban you or how that works, but the thought again is that if it's such a big of a headache that there's going to be harder for them to fight you on paying you back, then you might as well do the 90% plan anyway, because everything else they'll fight you on. And so it's like, yeah, I'm giving you all of the trip, but anytime my car gets damaged, you're fighting me on getting reimbursed. So if you're going to fight me anyway, I might as well just wait until it's a big piece of damage, and I might as well just take on all the other damage myself and pay for it, because it's a 50-50 chance whether or not I'm going to get that money back anyway. Hope that makes sense. So that's another tip as it relates to what protection plan you should use, and what that process looks like when you actually do have damage with your car. Because you definitely want to wait for Turo to pay you once it's big enough damage. And you don't want to try to rush and put your car back up yourself, because they will deny paying you, and it could turn into a whole mess. So that's another Turo tip for you. I hope that helps you with your Turo business and how you run it. If you got questions, comments, feedback, anything you want to know about Turo, we're here to help. Check out the 52 Turo Tips playlist, and good luck on your entrepreneurial journey. This is your boy, StephenMotivate. As always, stay motivated. Peace.